There we go. All righty. Here we are, everyone. We are at our last presentation of the day, and we are lucky to have the Saskatchewan Apprenticeship and Trade Certification. We're going to learn some information about that in the trades. So if you're the type of person that would be more interested in working in a trade industry, carpentry, mechanics, hairdressing, if that's what you're interested, you want to listen up here. Without further delay, Samantha, if you want to go, Samantha, I want to say your last name. Is it Kitzel?
Yeah,
Samantha
you
Kitzel?
bet.
Awesome. Okay, Samantha, you go right ahead.
And obligatory, you can see my screen okay?
We can see your next screen coming. Sorry. Yeah, I think you want to get out of presenter's view. Yeah, click that one. Yes, that's the way.
How's that?
Awesome. Perfect.
Beautiful. All right, good afternoon, folks. My name is Samantha, and I work for Saskatchewan Apprenticeship, where my role is essentially doing stuff like this, where I hop across the province to different high schools and educate students about apprenticeship and the pathway to get into it if you're thinking about pursuing a skilled trade after grade 12 graduation. I like to say this stuff to me is really important. Long ago that I was in high school myself, and there was always such a huge emphasis on getting great grades in school, not so that you can go off to skilled trades. No, that was never talked about. It was always get great off to university, right? Get an awesome paying job, live happily ever after. But trades were never talked about with that same weight. And as a lady that got, I don't know, fairly average marks in high school, there was never a single adult in my life that ever said, like, hey, Sam, do you want to be a carpenter, welder, plumber? That stuff was off the table because I fit the stereotype of someone that was going to uni, right? So I think as long as the stereotypes around the skilled trades exist and we have this idea of the type of person that go into them persist, presentations like this one will be really important. So my name's Samantha. In this next half-hour crash course, probably 20-minute crash course, we'll talk about everything involving what the skilled trades are. It might be a lot more diverse and vast than you've ever realized, but we'll get to that in a bit. What apprenticeship is, and ultimately whether it's right for you. I tell students right off the hop, I am not a salesperson. I'm not here to sell you on apprenticeship. It's quite honestly not going to be the fit for everyone in this room today. But I'm here to give you the power and knowledge so that you can exit your gymnasiums giving this stuff either a thumbs up or thumbs down. That choice, though, is yours. This is your future. That being said, the SYA program is our actionable item that students can start doing right now in high school to give yourself some leverage if you want to pursue this in the future. So I like to say it's like an investment in future you. When I was a teacher, the number one question that students always ask is, how is my learning today going to influence me in the real world? For us, SYA is the answer to this question because it's something that you can actually do as a part of your high school experience to benefit future you. So without further ado, 3, 2, 1, let's jump right in. Now, the very first thing that I like to start with is by posing the rhetorical question, have you ever considered a career in the skilled trades? Because what students don't often realize, and what the general public doesn't always realize for that matter, is that there's so much choice. And so oftentimes when I jump into a high school and say, hey, I'm Sam from Satc Apprenticeship, students take one look at me, one look at the presentation and go, yeah, skilled trades, like I get it. It's carpentry, welding, plumbing, 6'2" burly dudes swinging sledgehammers and chops, right? This lady has nothing to offer me. But what you might not realize, and what a lot of the general public doesn't always realize, is if you want to become a cook, that's a journey person certificate you need. Esthetician, working in the beauty industry, hair, skin, nails, all that stuff is JP certified. And so if there's anything to take away from sessions like today, it's that if you're a student that doesn't like doing what you're doing right now, sitting in a chair, listening to a lady ramble on for another 20 minutes about a topic you may or may not be interested in, that is a really good sign that the skilled trades might be up your alley as a future first choice career. Now, let's delve one step further. There's a ton of skilled trades. They've been divided into 4 sectors for that reason. And so I'll actually flip to the previous slide so you can see what sorts of jobs fall under each sector as I'm explaining here. So agriculture, tourism, and service is essentially just working with people. So if you have those really excellent interpersonal and intrapersonal skills and you like working with the public, that'll be your fit. So things like being a food and beverage person, guest services representative, which I believe, correct me if I'm not wrong, I believe Clarence was. And anything in the beauty industry is in that sector. Number two, motive repair. The thing that I really like to highlight about this sector is that general mechanic is not a skilled trade. You have to specialize and figure out if it's small engine repair or large engine repair that you want to get into. So for example, automotive service tech is one of the most popular options that students pick within this sector right now in the province. There's things like agriculture equipment technician, if you're fixing the farm equipment, combines, machinery, everything from that to fixing planes. So you got to dial in, figure out what area it is that you generally want to get into, because general mechanic is not good enough. Back at the top, production and maintenance is a kind of funky sector. It's basically characterized by larger industrial settings. So think factories, mills, power plants. What we find here is that the highest incomes within skilled trades are often in this sector because we have a correlation between high paying jobs and risk. But I'm going to swing back around to that concept when I show you stats around the salaries and wages in skilled trades. Last but not least, number four is construction. Makes sense to me. We're in Saskatchewan. I swear construction season is a legit season in the province. About 50% of our skilled trades fall within this sector. So that's where you'll find the more stereotypical ones. Your carpenter, your plumber, construction electrician is in that area as well. Anything that involves building a house, working on highway, you'll find it in that area. So hopefully you'll be able to find out and explore on resources like our website what sector of skilled trades work might fit you best, depending on what your personality is like, where you excel in your studies right now, the most in high school, and just generally what you want out of your life in the future. There's a ton of benefits by working in the skilled trades. I do like to focus on these six. Generally speaking, pretty decent pay. Again, I'll show you some specific stats around these salaries in a little bit here, but generally you want to support yourself, support a family. You can do so no problem as long as you're not, super irresponsible with money. Respect, various career paths and opportunities, but points 4 and 5 are the most important. Hands-on work and practical skills just is the skilled trades. And so quite frankly, if the classes that you notice on your transcript are always the classes where you get to show what you know, rather than writing things down in a test, and even after days like today, where we're in the last session of the day, you don't really want to be here, you don't really want to be sitting down for longer than you have to be, that is a really good sign that the skilled trades are probably going to be a good fit for you as a future career. Cruising right along then, I'll step into my teacher's shoes. There's two terms everyone has to understand if anything I say moving forward makes sense, which of course is the difference between an apprentice and a journey person. So the root of the word apprenticeship literally means 3 words, skill and training. Journey person, 1 word, expert. Every apprentice in the province of Saskatchewan, and national-wide for that matter, has to go through a set number of years of what we call trade time in order to be certified as the expert journey person. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting though, is because we're not a school. You're never going to show up with your textbooks day 1 and apply to like our welding university. Why? It doesn't exist. 85% of the time, you are going to be indentured with a journey person and show up at work. And that basically becomes your new school. There's only a 15% 6 to 10 week technical training requirement that usually will take place at SAS Polytech. But otherwise, essentially, you're being paid to obtain journey person certification. So it's a really financially savvy way to continue pursuing additional education after grade 12 graduation in a way that won't contribute to any debt related to your name. There's going to be 3 basic steps to go from starting apprentice all the way to journey person certified expert. Now, every skilled trade, it's going to be 2 to 4 years, depending on which skilled trade you pick. And you're going to rotate between points 1 and 2. So most of the time, 85% of the time, you're going to complete your training hours under a journey person. You show up at work, you do your job and get guided by them. And then 15% of the time, 6 to 10 weeks, you're going to attend pre-employment. Number 3 is the most important piece though, because no matter which apprenticeship path you take, at the end, you have to write and pass what's called the journey person exam. There's 2 really important things that I like to drive home to students about this exam. Number 1, we're all familiar with like final exams, right? Typically pretty stressful time of year, and I've yet to hear a student say they like love final exam season. That tests you on the entire semester's worth of stuff in one go, right? It's kind of the same thing for us, except rather than semester by semester, that journey person exam takes your entire apprenticeship into account in one go. So the exam is comprehensive. If you take something like welding, a welding is a 3-year, 5,400-hour trade. It's going to test you on the entire thing. Anything is free game. Even worse, point two, is that you need at least a 70% in order to pass. Now, reason why I emphasize this is right now, based on our last year's stats, only 65% of apprentices who write that exam their first time are passing successfully. And so I'd rather students know this now when they're in high school. That exam is not to be taken lightly. It's not a cakewalk. It is not easy. It's meant to be difficult. It's meant to be something that challenges your abilities in order to maintain a high standard of excellence within skilled trades. So biggest points here, it's comprehensive, takes your entire apprenticeship into account, as well as you need at least a 70 in order to be successful on that final journey person exam. Let's talk money, not the good kind quite yet. There is going to be a handful of fees that you'll need in order to register for apprenticeship. Number one, registration right now is $250. Technical training is $110 per week, and that ranges between 6 to 10 weeks depending on the trade. We got things like food and rent while attending technical training to account for, books, tools, safety equipment, but there's also tons of support. Things like EI to pay you when you're in school, the ATA, various learning supports, federal grants, provincial tax credits, the SYA program, which I'll get to in the second half here, and some players will cover the cost of things like tools and safety equipment. All of the detailed information about these supports is also on our website, but I'm just whipping through the stuff pretty quick for the sake of time today. Now, let's talk money. And let's start this conversation by speaking about debt. Because what we find right now is that if you are a student that attends and completes a 4-year course of study from the U of R, U of S, on average, you end up owing approximately $18,000 in student loans at the end of those degrees. Now, contrast that to apprenticeship, where the grand total owed is not even $3,000. This to me is so important, folks, not because of the money per se, but because of the stigma. University and the skilled trades have never been seen as equals. Yet the money shows the exact opposite equation of what we might expect, right? It makes no sense as to why the skilled trades are perceived as a lesser than option, especially when we get to slides like this one that show the difference between diplomas, bachelor's, and journey person certification, shows JP certification at the top of that area, right? So to me, this all just reinforces that the skilled trades are just as valid of a first choice career, not a plan B, second choice, didn't get into university type thing, but a legitimate first choice career as any university degree is. Now, to build off that one step further, all of the skilled trades have not been created equally. So that swings back to the concept I was talking about before with the correlation between risk and pay. So obviously, anything in the top end of that bar chart there, it's going to pay well, but it usually does so for a reason. My advice to students is always this. As you get closer to grade 12 grad and you're contemplating what it is that you want to do moving forward in life, you're weighing the pros and cons to various jobs, looking where across this beautiful country it is that you want to end up living and working, and you're tossing up options as to what choice you want for your future career. Scope out what the worst parts of the jobs it is that you want to get into. Talk to people who have been in those industries for 10 or more years. Ask them what they like about their job, but also what they hate. And make sure you're still a good fit for the lifestyle that that job will provide. We hear all across the province, students want to make money. They look at the dollar figure and try to chase that. It's not always a complete picture of the lifestyle that it'll provide you, though. And so I use the personal example. There's no amount of money personally that would have made me not become a teacher, which is what I do, and go into, say, a power line tech because it makes bank and teaching doesn't. It's not what I meant to do. It's not what I'm good at, not what I'm passionate about. And so don't let the money necessarily persuade you or dissuade you in either direction, is all I'm saying here. From there, last piece I'll leave with you regards the SYA program. And so this is our actionable takeaway that students in the province of Saskatchewan have the choice to take. It's a completely free program that any student in grades 9, 10, 11, or 12 can register for. The program is 12 challenges that I'll show you here on the next slide. If you finish all 12 of those challenges, it's about 10 hours of work before grade 12 graduation. You get free registration, so $250. Your free first level of technical training is also covered, so about $800 on average, plus 300 hours of trade time credit, all for just doing this. And the thing that I like to highlight to students is a lot of these challenges, like what we're doing right now at a career fair in the bottom right corner there, is integrated oftentimes into your high school experience anyways. So 2 PAA credits is naturally just built into what every grade 12 grad needs for your high school diploma. So a lot of this stuff, the big takeaway is it's not a challenging program to get to. It just requires a little bit of extra initiative, a little bit of extra drive, and you get a sneak peek on MyATC, which is the platform that all apprentices use to register within the province anyways. So as a student, you get to see kind of what this platform looks like, so that later on, if you ever end up indenturing with apprenticeship, you kind of know where to go to find everything. Last but not least, we also give out 100 of these scholarships each year, and this stacks on top of the other benefits I was already talking about. So without further ado here, I'll wrap it up. Here are the big core facts that I absolutely want you to know walking away from this presentation today. And that's that apprenticeship literally just means skill in training. Journey person is expert. It's going to be an 85-15%, where most of the time you're simply showing up for an employer journey person, getting paid to earn your trade time, and going to school once per year for about 15% of the year. We are considered a post-secondary. There's going to be some fees, just know that, prepare for it, expect it. Otherwise, tons of supports available. Not to mention, it is a form of post-secondary that pays you as an apprentice. So very little, if not any, debt related to completing your education. I'll pause here, see if there's any questions, comments, concerns, funny jokes, anything like that. But otherwise, I will also leave some information about where to find us in the chat. And by all means, teachers reach out, parents reach out, students, by any means, that's what our unit does, is help students get to the doorway of apprenticeship. And I will leave it there for today.
Samantha, I talked to you earlier, but if a teacher or one of the participating students wanted to have a one-on-one telephone call with you or
Yep.
have a presentation to their class to talk about this program, there's so many benefits.
Yeah, reach out any point in time. That's the bulk of what our unit does education like this and help students get the information they need.
Awesome. Okay, if anybody has any questions for Samantha, please don't hesitate to come on up and ask your question. I'm going to go on. There was one other area that we didn't talk about. Oh, thank you, Samantha. I see Samantha put her email up on the side.